Welcome back to the Smith Nerds, everybody, and today it is the 10th of May 2026, meaning 10 years ago today, this was released. That's right, today is the 10-year anniversary of Uncharted 4. Nathan Drake's fourth and final adventure. Well, technically fifth if you count Uncharted Golden Abyss, which was on the PS Vita, which is actually set before all of the other games. Honestly, they should have ported Golden Abyss to the PS4, because Golden Abyss had a touchscreen feature on the back of it when fighting, but you could literally just use the PS4's touchpad to do the same thing. Really don't understand why they never ported Golden Abyss to the PS4. Or even the PS3, since it came out before the PS4 was released. Either one would have done. But the PS4 makes more sense. So yeah, 10 years it's been since Uncharted 4. Now, I really wish I'd have rather been doing a video the way I did the Uncharted 2 15 years later video that I did back in 2024, where I'm actually playing the game, but I simply don't have the upload speed to where I think that would be a possibility to make a video that way. Of course, I am playing through the game again, as I do every year with the Uncharted games. I play through all 4 of them now, at least once a year. I'd like to tell you a little story. So a week before this game came out, I was at school. It was PE, and we were doing a relay, and it was on AstroTurf. And I must have lost my footing when I was running, because I fell onto the AstroTurf, and well, the down here on the side, on my side, it was very red and grazed. It did not look pretty at all. It did not look good. And it hurt quite a bit, to the point where I actually couldn't have anything rubbing against it, like my pants. I couldn't have anything rubbing against that specific part, because it hurt quite a bit. Should I have probably gone to go and see someone about it? Yes. Did I? No. I barely showed anybody that I'd even done that. Even though that has no actual relevance to Uncharted 4, I always remember this happening, because it was literally a week before the game came out. And I remember on the Saturday before the game came out, which was the 7th of May, I pre-ordered the game at the UK game shop, just called Game. And honestly, since COVID, that shop has had so many bad things have happened to that shop. There's barely any more of the game shops left in the UK anymore. There used to be hundreds upon hundreds of them throughout the country. But ever since COVID, so many of them have been shutting down, to where there's not a great deal of them left. And not only that, but they don't really have any actual proper game shops anymore. They're just in the back of JD Sports and stuff like that these days. And also, they don't just sell games anymore, which is they're supposed to. They sell Funko Pops and stuff like that as well. And people cite that as when games started going downhill, when their focus was no longer solely on selling games. And Game was such a great shop because it was the only place you could buy physical games that had literally just released. Because the only game shop that we have now in the UK, most of us, is CEX, or Sex, is what the adverts like to call it. But I'll never call it that. I'll always call it just CEX. They never ever have brand new games in on day one. Never. So that's what, you can't buy physical copies of new games unless you like order them off Amazon or something like that. That's the only way you can get brand new physical copies of brand new games day one. But yeah, I went into Game on the Saturday, pre-ordered Uncharted 4. So of course, as you can imagine, the only thing I was thinking about for the next couple of days was Uncharted 4. Because, I mean, I'd seen so much. The game was revealed at the end of 2013. Short, not like literally just after the PS4 had released. This game was revealed at the end of 2013, just half a year after The Last of Us had been released. Which, of course, ended up being a mega hit for Naughty Dog as well, just like the Uncharted games. But then the 10th of May came around, and obviously it's all I could think about. All I could think about. I got home from school that day, and the game was already installing as I walked through the door. The game was already installing, and as you could also imagine, I didn't play any other game until I beat this one. And it only took me until the Saturday of that week. So funnily enough, exactly a week after pre-ordering the game, I beat it. I got the game on the 10th of May and beat it on the 14th of May. Now, I've seen people saying, because I've been consuming a lot more obscure Uncharted content over the past year, like speedruns and different old versions of the games, things like that. And I've seen people say when they're talking about the first three games, that the first three games and the fourth game compared to the first three has such a different feeling to it. And I fully get it as well. I fully get why people say that Uncharted 4 has such a different feeling to the first three, because it does. That's not a bad thing, but it does certainly have a different feeling. And funny enough, where do I actually rank Uncharted 4 in third in my Uncharted games rankings. It was second up until November of last year, because if you remember when I did my favourite video game of all time video, where I'm talking about Uncharted 1 and 2, and I think I actually might now prefer the first game to the second one, even though most people cite the first game as being the worst of the lot, or if not the third one, which I think it's the third one. But yeah, I mean, this game, I really like Uncharted 4's puzzles. That's something this game does incredibly well. The gunplay is just as good as it is, it's of course more fluid than the first three games, but it's on a new console. It's got better graphics, so you kind of hope that. The stealth system was of course straight out of The Last of Us, which I'm not very good at, if you can imagine. Stealth. I'm fairly good at The Last of Us, just not the stealth part. Probably the biggest thing with Uncharted 4 is I don't really have a favourite chapter. That's probably the biggest thing about the game. I have a favourite chapter or part of the other games. Like, I really like the fortress in the first game. I love that part of the game. Uncharted 2, going through the war zone in Nepal. I really like that. Uncharted 3, the chateau. I really like going through the chateau. But this game, there isn't really I don't really have a very specific part. Maybe Madagascar, that chapter, because that is quite fun. It's the most open world an Uncharted game has ever felt. And then of course the Lost Legacy did that as well, with the 3 different fortresses. Which then that became the most open world an Uncharted game had ever felt. Since the games are not open world at all, they're very linear. But that works to their advantage. Of course, Uncharted 4 had a very interesting development cycle, because their game director for the creative director for the first 3 games, Amy Hennig, she left partway through development of Uncharted 4, and nobody still seems to know why that happened. Like the actors that played the characters have been asked. Richard McGonigal, who plays Sully, he was asked, and he doesn't know. Even he said he doesn't know why Amy was let go of by Naughty Dog. Because of her version of Uncharted 4 was going to be very different to what we actually got. Because Sam, Nate's brother, he would have actually been the villain in Amy Hennig's version of Uncharted 4. He would have been the villain, not Rafe. And of course, Uncharted 4 actually got delayed 3 times. It got delayed from November 2015, which is when it was meant to release, to March of 2016, then got delayed again till April of 2016, but then Naughty Dog realised that the date that they delayed it to for April means the game would have released the same day the PS4 reboot of Ratchet and Clank, the game based on the movie, would have come out the same day, and Insomniac had already had that day penciled in for their game. And I'm probably like one of the very few people that actually likes the PS4 reboot of Ratchet and Clank. Like one of the very few people, because I do like that game. And then of course they delayed it to May 10th of 2016, which is when the game released. I even brought this up when The Last of Us Part 2 got delayed twice back in 2020, saying Uncharted 4 got delayed 3 times. We've been here before. This ain't new. We know how this goes. I guess one of the other things I can talk about with the game is the game's multiplayer, because Uncharted 4 is the only game you can play the multiplayer on without having to go through all these different complicated methods like you do with the other 2 games that have it. Yeah, Uncharted 4 is the only game that still has its multiplayer completely intact by just clicking multiplayer. The thing for me is, I actually prefer Uncharted 2 and 3's multiplayer to this game's. Yeah, I think Uncharted 4 actually has the worst multiplayer out of the 3 games that had it. But the thing with that is, this game doesn't have a mini co-op story like the other 2 games did. Uncharted 2 had 3 co-op levels where you'd go through a certain section of the story mode of the game, the war zone in Nepal, the Tenzin's Tibetan village, or the Sanchum, the monastery, after you leave Tenzin village, and you play not fully go through you play quite a bit of those chapters again, but co-op with 2 other people. And then Uncharted 3, it had a 5 chapter mini story which took you through Borneo from Uncharted 2 again. then the London Underground, which was already in Uncharted 3, then the monastery from the first Uncharted game, then Syria, also from Uncharted 3, and then the airport, also from Uncharted 3, where you take down Lazarevich, Flynn, and Eddie. Uncharted 4 had nothing like that. It had nothing like a mini co-op story you could go through, which was such a huge disappointment because I loved the mini co-op stories in Uncharted 2 and 3's multiplayer. And you can play Uncharted 2 and 3's multiplayer still, but you do have to like change around your IP, and you have to have these very specific settings, and you've got to join this group. Like, you've got to do so much just to play Uncharted 2 and 3 multiplayer. After Naughty Dog turned the servers off back in 2019, which they really did not need to do. Like, why? Neither Uncharted 2 or 3 ever had 10 years of multiplayer. This game has had exactly 10 years of multiplayer, and it's still here. The Last of Us Part 1 factions is still going. You can still play the multiplayer factions mode from The Last of Us. And the remaster of that game came out 12 years ago. Although the factions multiplayer from The Last of Us is so underrated. It's such an underrated multiplayer. It doesn't have very many game modes. It's only got 3, but they're very well. 2 of them are very, very fun. The other one's an absolute pain in the ass. But yeah, it's a very fun and underrated multiplayer. And that just about does it for the 10-year anniversary of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Anytime people get nostalgic about the Uncharted games, they start saying, we need another Uncharted game. No, we don't. We really don't need another Uncharted game. Because you just can't trust Naughty Dog would actually make it just as good as the other ones when we've seen what they did to The Last of Us Part 2. If they can do that with that game, they can do that again with any future game. Like, Intergalactic, the Heretic Project, they're Naughty Dog's next game. People are very apprehensive about it now. They're not sure they can trust Naughty Dog. They'll definitely make a great game. Of course, we don't know when that game will release, so we'll have to wait and see for that. But yeah, that is my little trip down memory lane to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. Let me know any memories of Uncharted 4 that you have in the comments. And until we meet again, I will see you in the next one.